To another Tops show. I'm here. I'm Bill Davis. I'm here with Marc Harty. Go ahead and say hi, Marc.
Hi, Marc.
There you go. We wanted to talk about two things today. So we have two things on the agenda. Let me see if I can pull up that agenda. First of all, here's our little Titans of Publishing show byline. But I wanted to talk specifically today about something that I think we get asked and kind of we get questions about, or at least concern about, well, what is a publisher, or am I a publisher? If I write my own book, for example, and I self-publish, well, then by default, you're a publisher. But a lot of people don't understand what it really means to be a publisher. And I like to look at the etymology of words. And to publish is to, quote unquote, make generally known. And also it means to make public. So here's the difference in what a publisher is versus a non-publisher as it relates to writing. So if you write in a diary and you keep it to yourself, or you keep it just to a couple people, you're a writer, of course, but you're not a publisher because you're not making it public. You're not making it generally known. Contrast that with somebody who might write, a blog post or who's a blogger. Well, they may not think of themselves as a writer per se, but they're certainly a publisher because they're making their work known. So that's really what the difference is. And I know a lot of people get hung up on the idea of, well, I'm not a publisher. I'm not like, Random House. I'm not one of these big, companies. You don't have to be nowadays, right? You can be a one man or one woman show, and you can do all of these things. You can write, you can publish, you can promote, you can do everything on your own, by yourself, or in conjunction with other people. But you most definitely, if you make your stuff available to the public, you most definitely are a publisher. And we'll talk about this in a future one. I just wanted to get this out of the way, but I believe that we're all part of the media now. And when we blame the media for something, we have ourselves to blame too. Or at least we're in that camp, and we can focus the sunlight on ourselves if we ever say, it's the media's fault, or they're doing this, or it's fake news, or whatever. We're all part of that thing now. So that's kind of a little definition and a little rant all in one. But Marc, do you have anything to add or subtract from that?
I was going to be a smartass and say I have absolutely nothing to add, but of course I have something to add and maybe subtract. And as you were talking about the etymology of words, where my mind went? I was like, well, I'm doing this. I'm Central Time. It's past 4:00 on a Friday afternoon. And I'm thinking, who puts the pub in publisher? That's
awesome.
That's what I'm thinking. So maybe we need to kind of do a pseudo kind of combo happy hour publisher kind of thing.
There you go.
But I like your distinction. And of course, my area of expertise is publishing press releases. And, when you were talking about, that we're the media, there was a term that when, online authorities and people that became, authorities on social media, they weren't necessarily traditional reporters or traditional journalists. What they did is that they became citizen journalists, because they didn't need, just like you don't have to go through the whole the traditional publishing hierarchy, in terms of, traditional publisher. I mean, obviously you may want to at some point once you get more well-known. But it works, as you mentioned or kind of touched on, it works the same way with media too, where, you don't need to rely on NBC, or you don't need to rely on, a major media outlet to, publish or interview you to get news or to be, published, because, you can send an online press release and, you can get on, hundreds of sites overnight. So the key takeaway is the the context and the definition of both publishing and publisher has changed. Bill's a publisher, I'm a publisher. Probably a lot of people that are going to be watching this video are publishers, and and wherever I can insert a superhero reference, Spider-Man, with great power, comes great responsibility. Yeah. You've seen, how many of you seen people publish information and for whatever reason, it was inflammatory, or, again, I'm thinking, more news oriented, more media oriented than, traditional book publishing. And they've either had to, republish something or retract something because either they got their facts wrong, or, they ended up getting into some kind of online tiff about, about the information that they shared. So, the good news is that, think about it, barriers have been removed. Barriers that used to exist, are no longer there. So in my mind, that equals opportunity.
It does. But as you alluded to, as the barriers of entry are lowered, that means more people can get into the field, which means that there's the potential that more people who are not very qualified or good at it can get into the field. But there is opportunity, and I believe that if you work at your craft, you can get really good at this. But just note that, when you're talking in terms of like journalism, newsworthy type stories, the hurdle isn't nearly as high as it used to be. We don't have Dan Rather and Walter Cronkite and as our soul or the few sources of news we get to listen to. They're everywhere, and there's citizen journalists and citizen reporters, and some of it's good and some of it's not. So I think, back in the old days, we didn't have enough choice, and now we don't have good enough filters because we have way too much information.
Yeah. Yeah, John Rogers inserted a political reference, which
there it is, Alex Jones. That's right.
Mr. InfoWars.
I don't care who you are. Objectively, that news is crap. It's just there for it's inflammatory. It's to get people's, it's to raise their blood pressure and perk up their ears and make them pissed off about something.
Well, as long as we're, occasionally, even ever so often, I get an idea.
No way.
And I know, shock upon shock. Who's to say, and, you see this happening with social media, Facebook, Twitter, fake news. Who's to say you can't publish something about filters for publishing something? You mentioned the word filters, and it's like, are these filters self-imposed, or are there filters, it's like, I've been reading, it's like, okay, here's how to tell if this is a fake news site. Here are kind of some things, here's how they try to make it look like a news site, and here's how you can kind of detect, is it a real news site or is it a fake news site? But,
just before you move on, I'm not even sure that, and I'm not going to say the majority or a minority, but there's a portion, and I think it's a significant portion of people who don't even care if it's fake or real.
Right.
It's more of, it agrees with my worldview or it disagrees. Right. And I think we're all guilty of that to an extent. We all like our news sources, but you know what? You got to be able to know the bullshit from the reality. And I think a lot of people just don't care. And I don't know what that means, but I think it, I do know what it means. It means the unraveling of civilization as we know it. But, the genie's out of the bottle. We're going down the path, and we just got to learn how to break the fall. Anyway, but I cut you off, and I apologize.
No, no, this is a free flow exchange of thoughts and ideas on a Friday afternoon.
There you go. All right, so we're going to transition, and I'm not very good at segues, so we're just going to blow through it. Holidays are coming up. We got Black Friday stuff already out. I've heard Christmas songs already. Christmas is coming. Other seasonal holidays are coming. And as publishers, do you take advantage of that? Do you do anything about that? Do you plan around that? What do you do? So, Mark, what do you do?
We have a holiday coming up this weekend. You're gonna see. Obviously, it's not as big as Thanksgiving. It's not as big as the Christmas or Cyber Monday or Black Friday. But I've already seen promotions for Veterans Day. Yes. My first copywriting job was for a women's clothing store, and I worked in the coat department, or I wrote copy for the coat department. And Veterans Day, the Veterans Day sale was the biggest sale of the entire year. Now, frame of reference, this was Chicago. So, they could have already had snow by on November 11th. But so there are certain things that are obviously seasonal and timely. But I also think, there's a fatigue factor. So, I was thinking, okay, do I want to publish a Black Friday sale or a Cyber Monday sale? Because, I sell digital information. Cyber Monday, it seems like a nice fit. And the answer is, I don't know. I have in the past, and I've given really big discounts. I may still do it. I will tell you something, Bill, from a PR standpoint. When people come to me, unless they have a specific holiday promotion, I say, let's get this whole holiday season behind us, because in January, there's this big gaping hole for news and information, because everybody, put all their eggs in the holiday basket. So, there are, obviously, January is clearance month, whatever they didn't clear out for the holidays, they're going to sell. But there is more space, at least in terms of, my area of expertise, which is news and media and PR. There's space to kind of fill up. So that is an opportunity. And, I like to counsel my PR clients and say, hey, if you can, if you've got something that's evergreen, or, even better, something that's time sensitive, and you can queue it up for January and February, you're not going to have to compete with all this other holiday clutter.
No, good points. And one of my first few jobs out of college were retail jobs.
I remember.
And we actually, if you subtracted or canceled out all of the returns we got in January, January might have been a bigger month than December in terms of sales, in terms of gross sales, because people come in looking for the bargain, and you have tremendous opportunities to recapture or reclaim all of those returns that are coming in with additional sales. If you're good at what you do in a retail environment, you will be you could convert a lot of those people who just want to return this crap, right, into viable customers. So it's a prime opportunity in retail. It's also, like you said, it's a prime opportunity for digital information, because other people who are in this space aren't doing anything in January, and as well in press releases, in book releases, people just aren't thinking about it. So I tend to be more of a contrarian. I do things when other people aren't, and I don't do things when other people are, because it's kind of like, would you rather be in in Madison Square Garden, with a crowd. In both instances, you have a crowd, but would you rather be there with, Garth Brooks, who I just went to see, by the way, or would you rather be there alone? Now, you have the same crowd size because people are just going to be out and about all the time. People are always looking for something. People have cash in their wallets or credit on their cards, and they're going to buy things. So would you rather be at Madison Square Garden or the street corner? I mean, so it's timing, and there's a lot to be said for people who it's kind of like piggyback marketing. You piggyback on top of a bigger name or whatever. That works too. That's why people have opening acts. That's why opening acts want to be opening acts, because they can piggyback off the success or the popularity of the headliner. But you can also make a name for yourself if you're the headliner, right? So anyway.
Yeah, and as you were talking, I was thinking, okay, what if you've already made the decision, and you really want to do something, So if you're a publisher, chances are you're publishing some kind of content, So maybe what you do is like holiday season, it's gift giving season, so you can package that content as a gift. I mean, last year, I think I did. I did like there's like the 12 days of Christmas. I did the 12 days of gifts, and I ran out of gifts at like 7 days. but nobody said where are the other 5 days. So,
it's inflation.
Maybe it's open rated, with email. I don't know, but I mean, here's the thing. I think you hit on something, Bill. I mean, as a creative person, I'd love to say, I want to do a holiday promotion that's unique, that no one else has done. And I think you could tie yourself up in like a pretzel, trying to kind of come up with this master, creative formula. So yes, it's going to be more busy. Yes, there's more, not just competition, but there's hyper competition. But you could still do something. You could give things away for gifts. You can do a sequence of gifts like I did. And the gift doesn't necessarily have to be, content. It could be something leading up to something. So, if you're a service provider, you can say, hey, the holidays are a little slow. People are making travel plans. I've got some consulting sessions that have opened up, in December. And, and I realized that people, that's the time they think about this coming year and how they can make this year better. Let's have a 15 or 20 or 30 minute, no cost consult. So, you could do a bunch of different things and package it as a gift.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, one of the things that kind of, that you said that kind of made me think is, we all have this pipeline, and it's, for some people it could be 15 days, 30 days, 45 days, 3 months. I once worked on a contract where, it took over a year to get that contract. And if I would have relied on that for, my income, I would have been screwed. But the point being, a lot of people take off most of December, maybe not in terms of their work or their job or whatever, but they kind of like mentally tune out, or their mind is elsewhere.
Or they're in a sugar coma from all the sweets and cookies.
Yeah. Thanks, Halloween. But, you could use December as an opportunity to market or position rather than sell.
Yes.
And make January your big month.
Yeah.
Just line up a whole, because you're going to be doing something that not many other people are doing. You're actually filling your pipeline, filling your funnel, whereas other people are trying to like get people, to that last part of their funnel, the sale,
right,
at a discount. And in January, February, March, you may not have to offer any kind of discounts to entice anybody to do anything. So that's another way to look at it.
Yeah, I like that. I like it because the focus is not necessarily selling something; it's building something. It's building a relationship. And as you were talking, my original career was in advertising, and there was this old axiom: you have to run an ad 6 times for it to be seen once. And I've seen in terms of business development and sales, that a lot of salespeople give up where, the ultimate tipping point may be between the 7th and 12th touch, meaning a touch would be a call, an email, a meeting, an in-person meeting. So, to go to what you said, having that line of communication to build to something, come January when, hey, guess what? People have, because they have travel commitments, they're running around looking for gifts. Like you said, they're distracted. A lot of the people, they work with, or they're out, or, have checked out. And it is a good time. And, I got to tell you, there's been some big marketers that would actually do, like big webinars between Christmas and New Year's simply because they knew people had time off. Now, it may be time off and they're on a cruise or something, but they had time off and they were a little bit tired of the holidays and they wanted an alternative, something alternative to do. So that may be an option too, is between Christmas and New Year's, maybe you have, a webinar or some kind of online event where you can talk about goals. I mean, every year, a colleague that you and I know, John Paduchak, I would do, because I have this thing where I theme my year. Every year I theme, it's kind of like the Chinese calendar, the year of the dragon, the year of the snake. And so we would do, between Christmas and New Year's, we would get people on a webinar, and it was more goal setting, and it was really giving back. But it was great because people are already thinking about that. And that's the other thing to think about too, is meet them where they are, not where you want them to be.
Good point. All right. Well, I think we're almost out of time here. Any closing thoughts, any closing comments from people watching? If you're watching this on the recording, certainly leave your comments, and Mark and I will do our best to answer or respond to them. If not,
and you forgot our official sponsor.
Yeah, I literally did forget our official sponsor. Why don't you fill me in?
No. I want you to do it. So you built it, you do it. So
are you talking about one of my sites?
I'm talking about the site.
The site. Okay. Well, Titans of Publishing.
Yes.
So you need to go to titansofpublishing.com, and all of our past recordings are there. All of our past shows are there. And this one should be there as soon as we close out, I think. I'm trying something a little bit new. I actually posted the video before we went live, so we'll see if that works. I
like it.
Sure. I actually looked during the show and it was on, so that's a good thing. But anyway, go to titansofpublishing.com. All our shows are there under the shows tab, and we'll see you in a week. All right.
Sounds good.
Take care, everybody.
See ya.